So guys, here we are with the PC kind of nearly back together, most of it, 99% back together. Down here we have our intake fan. It's kind of noisy at the moment. I want to get some rubber kind of washers maybe to kind of dampen some of the vibrations in the case that are kind of generating some noise. Maxter hard drive up here, limited to 32 gigabytes. For now I'm going to try and post with the Matrox graphics card that was in it. Above the Matrox here, this is a backplane that goes for USB that goes down to the USB header on the board. I've a slot ready to go for when the Voodoo arrives, but for now we're going to try and post with the Matrox card. Below that I have another PCI card, USB 1, just to add some I/O. I'm not going to be using the AT or PS2 connections. I'm going to try and use all modern keyboards and input devices and peripherals. Beneath that again we have the Sound Blaster Live card. So with the Sound Blaster Live, I'll just try and get a better shot of it. I had to recrimp a new connection here because it was that was in the machine before I changed it out with the Philips 40 speed, and it had a different connection here. So I crimped up a new DuPont connection for that, and we're ready to rock and roll. So yeah, it's all looking good. That's the extent of the cable management really. I've tried to get it as neat as possible, but I think we're kind of, so long as we've got this large void here that we can have air in for the CPU, and again some void here around this fan to get air flowing across the GPU, we should be fine. So yeah, we're going to post with the Matrox card, and I think tomorrow I should have the Voodoo 3 2000. We might need to replace the capacitors on that. I might show you that. I'm going to use the hot air station to do that. I'm not going to bother showing you any of the recap of the main board. I mean, I've plenty of videos that I've done recapping in, and I'm probably not the best person to watch for recapping. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there that have done a great job of showing you how to recap. One thing I will say is that the ground planes in that board are a pain in the ass. Because it's a baby AT board, I think it's probably, it's a multi-layer board. I'd say 4 layers or something like that, with all the, just to get all that circuitry into such a small footprint. That's probably why it was pain in the ass to deal with. But yeah, I mean, everything's going good. It weighs quite a bit, this system, just because I think the power supply I have in there now, I'm not sure, I think it's in around 300 watts. I mean, it's probably twice the power that was in it before, but we've got a lot going on. So with the hard drive, the Maxter, I'm going to leave it there for now. I may swap it out for an SD to IDE card at some stage, just as this is a pretty old drive, an 80 gigabyte Maxter, limited to 32 gigabyte. That's the limit of the motherboard. So I may get a 32 gig SD card and run that in an SD to IDE kind of setup. I'm going to fix up some of these cables as well and try and raise them up and just kind of get as much area here as I can, void. So next thing, we'll hook up a monitor, a keyboard and a mouse, just the basics, and we'll see if it'll post. Again, sorry for shaky cam here. So it's reading the correct amount of memory. Pentium MMX CPU at 166 megahertz. '18. 31. Escape. Save and exit. So, the final piece of the puzzle arrived today, guys. We have the Voodoo card. The 3D Effects Voodoo 3 2000. So, yep, it arrived today. So we're going to take out the Matrox card, fire this up. I have Windows installed on that drive before, so we'll see if we can go with that installation and just save a lot of time having to reinstall stuff. I did get the driver disk with it, so I'm going to probably use these drivers, and we'll see. I have other drivers just in case, but we'll go with that driver disk for now. I also got a way to hook up VGA to my Elgato, so I guess we're going to find out if it works. It's this mutant thing. It's got like a stereo jack, USB to power whatever kind of circuitry's going on inside here. But yeah, that'll be handy. So I can also use this for other projects. I can maybe capture some the output from my MacWill Game Gear and stuff like that. That might be worth trying. So yeah, should be interesting hooking this up to the Elgato. So we'll see how it goes. Oh, just one other thing. I do have the right capacitors if I want to change these, but looking at the board, the solder joints around the capacitors look nice and shiny and stuff, so rather than getting the hot air out to the board and risking damaging it, because I haven't all that much practice with the hot air station, I have a couple of modems I could tear apart just to practice soldering, desoldering and resoldering stuff with. But yeah, I'm not going to risk it. They look like they're in great shape, and I have them in stock should I need to replace them in the future. So, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, we have audio and video being captured. I had to take my scaler out of the equation and go straight into the Elgato. It wasn't handling the kind of dynamic changes and resolution that great. Another thing I learned, I did lose some recording, but I'll explain that a little later on. So let's take a look at the system. Go to Properties, Settings. So I'm in 800 by 600, that's by choice. It's kind of the resolution I used back in the day. I could go to 1024 by 768, but I don't see the point. And as you can see, we've got our 3D Effects Voodoo 3 properties. So, adapter, monitor, performance full, 3D Effects info. So all our driver versions, tweaks and all that stuff. Use of these settings could affect, right. So, that's fine, it's just, yeah, it's just kinda, yep, that's all good. So, I'm gonna go to my system properties, and as you can see, we have genuine Intel Pentium processor with 256 megabytes of RAM. Very good. Device manager. We have our creative Sound Blaster Live, display adapters. We have Voodoo 3. It's all showing up. Pretty good. Don't worry about the standard serial mouse because I'm not using one. Okay, so yeah. So every time I change resolution, OBS crashes sometimes when I exit out of games. So I'm going to split this up and only start OBS once I got the game up and running. So cool, guys. Let's check out some games. capturing footage is actually a lot more challenging than I thought. I think you're probably better off if you're going to be capturing from old PCs, not using the Elgato HD60 as a solution. Probably like a dedicated, something that's going to take a VGA cable, VGA capture device probably makes more sense. It works, but it's just a pain in the ass. So anyways, now that I've updated the drivers and stuff, I'm going to install we'll give Unreal another go. It wasn't playing great last time, so we'll give it another go.
Prisoners 8 over 9 escaping.
I'm afraid we'll be deviating a bit from standard analysis procedures today, Gordon.
Yes, but with good reason. This is a rare opportunity for us. This is the purest sample we've seen yet.
And, potentially, the most unstable.
Now, if you follow standard insertion procedures, everything will be fine.
Gordon, get away from the shutting down. No. Attempt to shut it down. It's not shutting down. It's not.
Glad to oblige you, fellow scientists. Do you still say there's nothing to chaos theory?
Altogether, the final part of the puzzle, the Voodoo 3 2000. But to finish off this machine, I've got a little case badge. So I'm thinking of mounting it there. 3D Effects case badge. Now it is the perfect size to fit in the recess, but like the computer care logo is kind of an important part of the machine for me, so I think I'm going to mount it just there beside the computer care logo. So I'll cut back once I have it on, because I want to kind of get it on as straight as I can. So guys, there we go. Case badge is on, looking kind of snazzy. The machine is somewhat complete. Now, one thing I will do in the future is I'm going to swap out the Pentium 166 for a Pentium 233 megahertz. It's not the most expensive upgrade in the world. It won't set me back that much, and it may eke out some extra frames in the likes of Half-Life or Unreal, but really those games are kind of at the end of what this particular computer can do. You're really looking at going on to a different computer, a different system board after that, because it's limited with the 66 megahertz front side bus. So yeah, I mean, ideally this machine is more of a Voodoo 2 machine, but with the prices of the Voodoo 2 cards, I was limited to the Voodoo 3 2000, which is just as compatible and probably just a bit cheaper and easier to get your hands on. Yeah, so in a future video I'll show you some of the differences once I upgrade the processor. I'll also show you a bit more about my XP machine, which is a bit more capable, and kind of once you're kind of talking about games later than Half-Life, stuff like Soldier of Fortune, Quake 3, you're really talking about NVIDIA processors, and moving on into kind of stuff like that. So I'm happy enough with this machine. This is kind of my Windows 98/95 build. When we see it again, we'll be putting in a new CPU and perhaps taking a look at some SD to IDE solutions for the drive.
The typing of the dead. Typing of the dead.
We're meeting G over there. What?
So to wrap things up, we've got some typing of the dead playing in the background. It's always kind of funny to watch. But yeah, so this machine, we will be upgrading the processor. For games like this one here, you can see the frame rate is pretty low. That makes small gains, but I don't expect it to be, an extraordinary difference. It'll make things slightly more playable, the kind of later games like Half-Life, Unreal, and we'll also be going back and having a look at that EEPROM for the BIOS, the EEPROM. So when those chips arrive, I'll program a chip and we'll try it out in the motherboard. Since I'm going to be going to the effort of removing the BIOS chip, I may as well do that at the same time I install the Pentium 233 megahertz. And we'll check out the SD to IDE solutions as well at that stage. All in all, when those things are done, I don't expect us to get amazing performance increases, but it's just kind of a bit more of a housekeeping effort. Again, the story behind the machine, this particular computer, is more important to me than it being like the perfect machine to run the Voodoo 3 2000. And indeed, if I ever in the future I can find a good price on some Voodoo 2s, some diamond Voodoo 2s, then I probably will put those in instead and maybe go for a dual setup. But yeah, I mean, For what this computer covers, kind of games, let's say from 1992, 93, all the way up to 99, I'd say. It's kind of perfect for that, and I wouldn't really, if I wanted performance in kind of those later games, I'd just rely on my my Windows XP build for that. So cool, guys. We'll have a lot to do in the next video. It might be a while before it's up, till I can scrounge together all the parts, the final kind of parts. I'd also like to get some 3D Mark and see if we can get a score for the machine. Again, I don't expect it to score very high, but it'd be nice to kind of run some kind of benchmarking software on it. So I'd like to shout out Phil of Phil's Computer Lab. A great channel and a great web page, great resource for drivers and old tools and things like that. He really has done a great job in archiving everything and kind of covering some of the more kind of technical hurdles that you're going to run into when it comes to getting old PCs, IBM PC compatibles up and running. So big thanks to Phil. Love the website, and if you haven't checked out his channel, I'll place a link up in the corner. You should definitely go check it out. So cool, guys. That was part 3. Part 4 should be coming probably next month or so. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat to you all again.